Good morning, world. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Lagos. How you all doing? I hope everybody is good today. Yes. I am in very high spirits. I hope it's the same for you. You're very welcome to another episode of You with Ezinne, the space where we pause, reflect, realign and rise together beyond limits. If this is your first time, you're very welcome here. Thank you for joining us. And if you're part of the family, thank you for always showing up for yourself. Thank you. As we step into February, we are intentionally shifting the conversation. This month, our theme is aligning the heart. Last month we did alignment begins from within. So this month, we are talking about aligning the heart. Like we all know, this is February, the month of love. And love involves our hearts. So we're going to align our hearts so that we can love well, grow well, be productive, and all of that. Okay. So, like I said, this month our theme is aligning the heart, healing, forgiveness, and emotional honesty. Because the truth is this: you can reset your goals 100 times. But if your inner life is tired, wounded, or misaligned, the goals will keep feeling heavy. You know, if your inner life is misaligned, your goals will keep feeling heavy. Even though it's the start of the year, you'll be saying, oh, we've lived 11 months already in January. If you have ever thought of that, then maybe you need to be uh, listening carefully on the show. Okay. So today we're starting February with a very powerful and necessary conversation titled Before You Reset Your Goals, Reset Your Inner Life. Okay. This episode is especially for the woman who has done the courses and the certifications, shown up consistently, yet still feel stuck, drained, or unsure. And I could not think of a better person to open this month as our guest today. But before we go to our guest today, I like to invite you to take a moment to like the stream, share the stream, and bring in more women here. We all know these things. We all feel these things if we want to be honest with ourselves. Where you're feeling, oh, January is more than 31 days. Oh, the days are so slow. Oh, okay, you're going to drop that goal and rejig it for this. No, it's not the goal you need to rejig, it's yourself you need to rejig. It's the way you feel you need to rejig. It's the things going on inside your head and inside your mind you need to rejig. So please, just as I try to bring up our guest, like the stream, share the stream, bring in many more women in here. Remember, we are up on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. Facebook, you can find us because we want to reach you wherever you are. This is a conversation we should be having, and we're having it today with a very phenomenal woman. I'm bringing her up now. Da 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 da. Yes.
Well done.
Today, I'm joined by Dr. Ojiugo Ajunwa, a project management consultant, AI readiness expert, author, and a strong advocate for women in technology and leadership. Dr. Ojiugo has spent over 2 decades helping individuals and organizations grow, scale, and adapt in an ever evolving digital world. But what sets her apart is our understanding that growth is not just technical, it is deeply emotional and internal. Dr. Ojugo, welcome to Up You with Ezinne. We are so glad to have you. Good morning.
Thank, thank you, Ezinne. I'm so honored to be on the call. I always watch the Up You podcast from afar, and to be invited in is such an honor. Thank you for having me.
Yes, that's because you have all the qualities of the Up You woman. No matter where you are, we will find you.
Wow.
Ah, I'm so excited this morning because we're going to talk about many things. We're just going to go everywhere to ensure that we reach the women that we should reach. Um, okay. Are you ready? Can I shoot?
Yes, please go ahead.
By the way, did I say to you, you look exactly like your profile? very techy, very multi
Oh my goodness. Thank
leadership,
you.
like the expert that you are, when I saw
Thank
your
you.
backdrop, I said, "Oh my
I'm
God!"
patriotic. I had someone.
Uh,
I had someone
and you're
paint the Nigerian
very intentional
flag
about
for
your
me.
craft. It's interesting.
Yes, I
Okay,
am.
so quick one. You
Well
have
done.
trained thousands of people. Yeah, it's very nice. I like it. It's inner alignment. Did you get that?
No, I didn't.
So I said, from your experience and from what I
Yes.
saw in your profile, you've trained thousands of people in digital and professional skills.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have.
Why do you believe inner alignment often determines success more than technical competence?
Okay. So thank you so much for that question. Inner alignment is so important because, first of all, the inside is what begets the outside. Like they said, as a man thinks, so
Connect
is
or
he. As a man thinks, so is he. So reproduce and impact your world from a good place. So that's why inner alignment is very important.
oh wow, really, really interesting stuff that you've said there. That's very powerful because many people assume that the problem is what they don't know, when often the problem is what they are carrying on the inside. So it makes more sense that you're even the one saying it because you're a professional. Sometimes when we say these things, it will be as if, okay, you're just talking. But for someone who is, as saying it,
Yeah.
okay. All right. So now let's bring it back to what we're discussing today. Yeah. So before you reset your goals is our topic, reset your inner life. What does that actually look like in practical everyday terms for a woman trying to grow?
Okay. So I have this program coincidentally in January. I titled it Reset, and it wasn't about just setting goals, and all of that. It was about who do you need to become, before you can achieve those goals. Because we set a lot of lofty goals. And in fact, someone in the community told me that by second week of February, the goals fly out of the door because you don't have the foundation wasn't laid, for you to achieve that goal. Goal setting is beautiful, is a great place to start from, but in practical terms, you need to understand your why. Usually, I love listening to channels like the History Channel, and all that because they really go back in time. So you will find people ask, who are you? Why are you here? It seems like a simple, common question. Who are you? Why are you here? But it's such an important question because it talks about purpose, and if you understand the purpose of a thing, you bring out the best of that thing. But when the purpose of a thing is not understood, abuse can happen. So self-abuse can happen when you don't understand, why was I made? What was I made to do? Like Mike Murdoch will say, if you throw a fish on land and expect the fish to, start moving, you'll be surprised it will be stuck in a place. But if you throw a fish in water, it starts speeding away very quickly. In fact, it's the ecosystem. So we must understand our purpose, we must understand our why. Why are we doing what we're doing? So it's not about, oh, I want to be like, let me use maybe Tony Elumelu, who just joined the billionaire in dollars, uh, you know ladder. I want to be like Tony Elumelu. I want to be like Dangote. I'm just using a Nigerian example so that it hits home.
Or
Who
Folorun Shock Alakija.
Sure, I like it there. So who are you, in that equation? Why do you want to be like them? And staying authentic and true to who we are is one of the first steps. Every other person is taken except you. So take up yourself, and be all that God calls you to be. It also means how to separate your work from your worth rather from your output. So it's not just, oh, I'm bringing up things, I'm creating these results. Don't tie your worth, your self-worth, to outputs, the things that are exterior. You need to have self-worth for yourself first. In fact, that's one thing about parenting. If you can, as women, we are nurturers. If you can, as a mother, as a parent, nurture your child from when they are babies. They have self-worth before, oh, you came first in class. It's not about them coming first in class. It's about the self-worth. And once you instill that in that child, the child does not know otherwise. The child carries themselves as they should. It's just like how King Charles will train his children. They understand from the cradle that they are princes and princesses, and then they carry themselves in that way. So if you can do that to your children, to yourself, even train yourself, it starts laying the foundation for when you set goals, you can then, start realizing them. Then again, identifying your beliefs and fears. What are those things, that you've believed, that has been ingrained in you? What are those fears? I think everyone has both of them, So make sure that you're realigning your narratives, changing, how you're thinking about these things. And when you understand that you're on a journey, not just I want to achieve a goal. It's not about the destination. It's about that journey to becoming. If I could borrow from that book by Michelle Obama, Becoming. When you understand that you're on that journey of becoming, you will even enjoy the whole process as you move on. So it's about creating your story, so that someone could look back and say, oh, I knew Ezinne Kufre Kanem. She did XYZ in her generation. This could be a conversation happening 100 years after you. Have you seen that? So it's such an important conversation that we're having, and then again, removing constant self pressure. Sometimes because we are in a society that wants to, level up everyone, we are so pressured to do this, to do that. No, come from within, and then the without will take care of itself. So make sure you're understanding, oh, this is the clarity of who I am. These are the things I'm capable of. These are my boundaries. These are the things I do not want, because you must define all of that before you start defining certain goals. Yes, I'm of the school of thought that says set big, hairy, audacious goals. But make sure that it's coming from that great foundation. So make sure you have clarity about what you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, know your boundaries. Make sure that you're imbibing self-discipline. So we'll be talking about a lot of self things. Self-discipline is so important. Sometimes we think we have it, but then sometimes if you really audit yourself, you may notice, oh, I'm not really self-disciplined, and it's something to add. Imagination. Some of us have stopped dreaming. Maybe life really hits you so hard that You're like, you're always telling people, I want to be realistic. Please stop being realistic. Still imagine, still dream, still visualize, imbibe habits like affirming yourself. So by the time you're doing all of this, you start being in the right condition to create the routines, the habits, the self love that would help you achieve those goals. So that would be my answer, for that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See the way I was bobbing my head, smiling, taking notes. I'm like,
Yeah.
wow. The truth of the matter is, and the people on the stream are following because I'm getting comments from them as well.
Yeah.
As you were speaking, a lot of things were going through my mind. One of them is, oh my God, it's possible for someone to live fully, be successful even, and still not know why they
Hmm.
were made in the first place,
Hmm.
and not live in purpose.
Hmm.
Because a lot of us do not question, we don't introspect, we don't search inwards, you know, like the way you described. Why was I made? They don't bomb me, they don't bomb me. I'm here, Jay. Make we they go. I went to school like everybody. I came out and hair, so I got a job. Yes. Okay, they say it's time to marry. Okay, I've fallen in love. My heart is in bim bim. I have married. I have had children. I'm training my children. What else do you people want from me? What's all this becoming? What's all this purpose? Me. You people are just trying too much. A lot of people live like that.
Hmm.
And that is the difference between an aligned person and a misaligned person. And that's why I think when you find some of these rich people who, on their their deathbed, they're full of regrets and full of, I should have done this, I should have done that. There's a huge place for knowing exactly who you are and why you're here. Another thing I heard very clearly when you were speaking, in fact, you said, uh, if life has thrown you some kind of curves and you have become fearful, we now hear you say things like, I want to be realistic. I want to be reasonable, given all things being equal. You now become very cautious in the things you say and the way you say them. And I think this, it's applicable or evident in many women. Um, so, my question to you now is, how does unresolved fear of failure, fear of success, or even fear of visibility? I know some women have asked to come on this show, they say, not on your life, not me, I don't want, you know. uh how do these fears show up in work life choices or even in our business decisions?
Thank you so much. I think, first of all, it could be because of upbringing. It could be because of religious connotations, ethnic, cultural things, where women are supposed to be seen but not
I'm not
heard.
heard. In
Yes,
2026?
26. Yeah, a lot of cultures still have that. So it stems from that conditioning, that says, oh, just be in the background, just train your children. I remember growing up in not really growing up as a young married person in a neighborhood with women. In fact, we had 12 bungalows in an estate, where I lived at that time. And I was always, thinking of, oh, something next to do, or where I should go to next, what goals I should face now. A lot of the women were like, what's going on? Just cool down. Let Oga fend for himself. Didn't he form the family? Watch. What's this? Telemundo. I think that was when it came out newly. Just sit back, watch Telemundo. You don't need to crack your head. Forget about this. Just coast through the whole thing. Your children, when they grow, they can take care of some things, and things that, and this was maybe year 5 of marriage. And I'm like, wow, are people really think it got me shocked. I was like, are people really thinking like this? But then you don't need to blame them. Do you know why? Because of that conditioning. Because of that conditioning. So it stops a lot of people in their tracks. They don't even start, or say, oh, I started, I failed. No, they don't even start. So I just hope the woman on this call is noting that, we want to break the legs of that table. Please start. Start from wherever you are. Don't be afraid of, I think a lot of people are also like, I'm not good enough. You're just perfect. When we started the conversation, I talked about understanding your authentic self. People want to hear you, not someone else. So if you take it from that angle, you'll find out that you're enough. You're enough. We don't need to add anything extra, just like you are. You're just enough. And guess what? Your chapter 10 may be someone's North Star. And if you're thinking that way, you will start seeing that, oh, I can contribute to a conversation. Oh, I can make an impact. I can influence some thoughts, and things like that. And then I think a lot of us also overanalyze. We want everything, especially living in Nigeria. It's just like on this podcast, we are like, I hope NEPA doesn't take the lights. It's no longer NEPA, PHCN. Oh, I don't want to appear like, oh, NEPA took the light, it became dark. Some people do not want that, but go in messy, go in however, but just begin. Take your lessons, keep going. I remember when I started two annual events in fact, 3 annual events consistently. I did not know the stubbornness that I needed to muster to make it work living in Nigeria. Honestly, everything told me stop. But guess what? I said, no, not on my life. I have a legacy and I have something important I'm communicating. So no matter the hurdles, that I would continue. And guess what? We've impacted thousands of people through those events. We have one we call the Small Medium Enterprise Virtual Conference. The 6th edition was in November. And over time, we've had more than maybe 70 speakers coming across the world, thousands of people, entrepreneurs impacted. Imagine if I had said no. That wouldn't happen. It would just be something on my vision board, so that wouldn't happen. Even my first coaching sessions, my first training sessions, I did it with a shaky voice, but I even told my shaky voice, no, 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 I'm moving, I'm heading to the direction of my dreams. And when you stop questioning, oh, is my voice good enough, are my ideas good enough, do I even have the right to take up space? When you stop questioning, you start living.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Do I even have the right to take up space? That's a very deep question. And the funniest thing is, we have these conversations in our head. And because these conversations are internal, we think that they don't carry power. Because you're not hearing it in my head as I'm saying it, like I'm talking to you now. So we just believe, okay, it's harmless. It's not harmless. Your cells are taking it in. And the more they take it in, you see, your brain will just rewire and it will never allow you to do what you want to do. So when you were talking, I was just saying to myself, okay, all right. Many women will often tell you, I'm not ready yet.
Hmm.
Ah, ne, how far? That thing we discussed that other day, when are we starting it? I'm not yet ready. And you say, so what's remaining? They say, oh, this has to come in, that spirit of perfectionism just shows up. But lately I've just been thinking, is it that we are actually perfectionists or that we're hiding from doing what we know we must do?
Mhm.
Because I have the understanding that a dream will not bet inside of your brain or your mind if you don't have the capacity to bring it about. God doesn't go around giving people dreams that they can't deliver on. So, what's your take with women who say, I'm not just quite ready? And they
Mhm.
never get ready, Sha.
When you say you're not quite ready, it means you need to address certain things. Like I said, you don't need to be ready 100% to start. In fact,
Mhm,
in the project management industry where I work, we talk about MVPs, minimum viable products, or beta tests. So someone could say, for instance, I want to write a book. Oh, I have a beautiful, in fact, a lot has happened in my life. I need to capture it in the pages of a book, and you're like, but who would read me? So you could start writing and better test that book with maybe 10 or 20 of your close allies and tell them, please, when you read it, give me feedback. Okay. So for people that don't want to go full blown, you can pilot whatever thing you're doing. It gives you a bit of comfort to, pilot whatever thing you're doing, because from the feedback, I think even software manufacturers do that. The phones we use, they didn't come out, like chef's kiss. They didn't come out perfect. The mobile apps we use, every year you see them updating, the OS, the operating system, the GUI, the graphical user interface.
hmm.
So that means everything is a work in progress. So if you can have that comfort that, okay, let me take this to the marketplace, let me take what I'm doing and see what people would say, and then once you capture your feedbacks, you work on the feedbacks, make a better product and release it, out there. So that's the language I would use to explain that. Because if you let fear stop you, you will never start. If you let fear stop you, you will never start. So that's why I gave you that there is a concept, there is a framework for that. It's called beta testing, it's called piloting, it's called creating an MVP. Someone like Bill Gates, for instance, I think he was interviewed some time ago, and they asked him, that the Microsoft project you gave us back then, that it looked really ugly compared to, I think it's Microsoft 365 now. He said, yes, I had to release something because, first of all, we didn't even have anything. Remember, in those days, we were always looking at the computer as something big.
Gigantic
We
stuff.
didn't even know, okay, where do we type on? What do we do with it? And someone comes up with an idea. The idea wasn't perfect, but he took it to the market. The market gave him feedback. That's why
Feedback.
there are so many iterations of that particular, the same product, but it's looking. So, in fact, if you get a screenshot of the first version and get 365, you'll be like, what the hell did they sell us? But please, the market needs your ideas, needs your, whatever thing you're bringing to the table. Start the way you are, get the feedback, and move on. Thank you. I hope
Thank
that
you very
answered.
much. I think that's actually the principle of becoming.
Yeah.
I love what you said. Everything is a work in progress. Can somebody
Mhm.
please put that up for me so I can put it up on the screen? Everything is a work in progress. Even us, humans, we are work in progress because if anybody told us today that we'll be interfacing with something called artificial intelligence, we will say, huh? But we will get there. So, but before I run away with my thoughts, is because you're actually delivering on the speed of light. Could you please tell me, in your own journey, was there a defining moment? A
Mhm.
defining moment when you realized that skill alone wasn't enough and you required inner healing to be able to move forward. Because I mean, the things you do and the things you're even describing, three annual events back to back to back. Come on. How?
Okay, so a defining moment I could say was, coming up with a class of degree in my first degree. Back then everyone wants to have a 2 1 2 2, but I didn't have any of that. I'm not sure I've said that anywhere except your podcast. I came up with a third class, but I didn't allow that define me. In fact, thank God for that third class. And why did I have a third class? I was trying to change departments. I stayed in a department that I thought had accepted me, in school. And I found out late. So I had to scramble, find a way to still graduate, back in the day. But I said to myself, third class or no third class, I'm going to be so impactful that I don't need an introduction. So I actually dug my feet down and said to myself, in my father's word, I have to be assertive to survive the marketplace. And this marketplace is the Nigerian, corporate world. Nigeria is a big kettle of fish. In fact, people say if you survive in Nigeria, there is no place on earth, that you would not survive. So what did I do? I picked up on my dad's word. My dad always talked about being assertive. My late dad, Dr. Zurumba Izebike, he always said, be assertive. In fact, as we have discussions at home, that was his key word, and that word taught us to step up, trust yourself. And in our culture, like I said earlier, women are supposed to be seen, not heard. But when you have a father that kept instilling on you that you can step up, be assertive, break through whatever hinders you, and all of that. In practical terms, it made me go and do this inner work. This topic of this podcast, it made me go and do that inner work. And this inner work is not something you do in 1 month. It's a lifestyle. You must be doing that inner work. You must be checking in. So I finally sat back and audited, where I am and where I want to go to. And then to arrive there, I was like, okay, what version of Ojiugo would arrive at that my North Star? So I had to think about new habits, new rituals, new things that could separate me from that label. She had the third class. So I started doing a lot of inner work. I journaled, I prayed like my life depended on it. I reflected. It's still fresh in my mind because I spent over a year doing this. I really spent time. In fact, when I saw the topic of your podcast, I was like, did you know a bit about some of the things I went through? So I'm trying to be as authentic as I can on the podcast. So I spend time reflecting, I spend time thinking, I spend time installing new knowledge. I read. In fact, I still, if I scan through my home office right now, you'll be like, wow, because there are loads of books in here, which is an installed habit that I keep on working on. Not just because of my work, as a knowledge entrepreneur, but I just love it, and it really helps. So installing new knowledge, because if you don't have, it's garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have something to give, then there is nothing you could give. I stopped also waiting to feel ready before I do things. I applied for opportunities, even when I felt, these opportunities that it wasn't a fit, or I didn't have everything they said. I still applied. I also started looking at being intentionally visible. So I started being visible offline, online. Back in the day, it wasn't so much, but with the advent of all the social media platforms we have, intentionally, I started building out my personal brand, and that genuine preparation really, really helped me. So it helped me to fill in gaps in my knowledge, where the places where I had those gaps. It helped me, install the habits for that version of me that would achieve those goals. And like I said earlier, fear happens to everyone, but then installing new habits intentionally, working on yourself would break the jinx and allow you to move further. And um and um, once you're able to do all of that, you find out that a new version of you, just like butterflies go through different life stages, a new version of you will start springing forth. So taking time, now that time could mean, it could mean a retreat, a personal retreat, where you spend, let's say, 1 week, 2 weeks, or it could be spread over time where you spend 3 months, 6 months, 1 year redefining who you are, where you want to be. It really helps a lot in achieving your life's goals. And then I want to talk about emotional honesty. Emotional honesty can be very tough, but you need to tell yourself the truth if you want to move further. So again, for those of us that are Christians, the Holy Spirit can guide you. You just need to make sure that your eyes, your ears are open to listen. So the Holy Spirit can serve as a teacher in this regard, because we can't really help ourselves as much as we would want to. But if you have the Holy Spirit indwelling, in you, it can help you break out of comfort zone, break into new terrains, places that you were just figments of your imagination, and all of that. So that emotional honesty, asking for help, apart from the Holy Spirit, building accountability amongst your key friends, building a support system, especially as a woman, having that support system is so important if you're going to go further, because we have a lot that we do day by day. Having that support system would now mean being able to move further. Sometimes I also mention to women, if you can afford help, pay for help, especially in the prime of your life, so that that beautiful
Dreams that
energy,
are,
yes,
yes.
that beautiful energy that you have, you can then really harness it, use it, to your own
Please go ahead.
advantage. Yes. So I was talking about emotional honesty, and getting help, when you need to get help is part of the process. So I talked about the Holy Spirit, being a teacher, being a support system, helping you all the way. So if you're able to calm down in your spirit, you can hear things, you can be spoken to, to, oh, this is what you should be doing now. And step by step, you find that you're able to, really go further. So that was where I was. Thank you. You can go ahead. Can you hear me? Okay. So I would continue. Then again, with striving, with trying to be who you really want to be, the next would be rest. If you don't take any other thing from the conversation, take rest. So rest is such a beautiful thing. I think it's God's way of making us, refresh ourselves and even come back with better ideas. Okay, come back with better ideas. So rest should also be put into what you do. Sorry, just a moment. So rest should also be put into, what you do, because if you're able to craft out time to rest, life is a marathon. not a sprint. Craft out time. Don't wait till you deserve the rest. Let it be part of your schedule. You'll find out that you'll be so energized to keep going. Thank you.
Thank you, Ojiugo. Everything that can happen is happening to us. You can see I'm sweating. They've taken my light this
Sorry.
way, and I noticed that yours has also gone. So
Yeah.
it's because you gave that example that don't wait to be perfect. If it's
Yeah.
just keep going,
Mm-hmm.
just going to keep going, so that people can see that we live.
Okay. I think network may have gone off, but let me hold on for a bit. Can you hear me? Okay, so I will just continue just because of time. So for again, some things that hold us back could be I don't want to forgive myself, because maybe you've lost time. I had a conversation, it was yesterday, and a lady was telling me how
That you're
she
going
had,
to take your life and make it your own
yeah,
and live a life of impact and legacy. So,
mm,
whatever class of degree that you were given didn't define you,
mm,
capacity, or your look at your profile. I was reading it and I was like, this woman is in tech and she's doing all of this. So, you
yeah,
see, a whole lot of us have been tied down because someone said you have 4 o'clock eye.
mm,
In fact, recently, 2026, I actually saw adults on social media abusing somebody and saying he has 4 o'clock eyes and you
mm,
dene. And I'm like, excuse
mm.
me, and
That's
you're an
horrible.
adult and you're shaming, body shaming somebody who didn't create them. That's
Mm,
absurd.
mm.
So can you imagine like me took that to mind? I probably
Come out.
wouldn't do all the things
Yeah.
that, or maybe somebody says you're fat,
Hmm.
you're this or you're
You're
that.
too tall.
You came out with a part, or you didn't
Mm,
even go to school, whatever it is. Those women,
mm,
we know how to use those labels for us and use those labels to tie ourselves down. Oh, you haven't had any child, therefore you're barren. Oh, you're not married, therefore something is wrong with you. Oh, you're
mm.
divorced, therefore this. Can we just carry all of that and throw it away to the pit of hell where it's coming from and find our essence, find
Yeah.
ourselves, find our reason to
Mm,
be and then
mm,
be. So
mm-hmm.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I really hope my recording system picked it because I would want that to go out to encourage many women because many of us are at that
Mm.
point, you know, and it's not letting us to blossom, telling us you're late bloom. Even if you're a late bloomer, please just bloom. Don't live this life and not bloom. Bloom, bloom. Just bloom.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you came here.
Mm-hmm.
So just bloom.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. To emotional honesty. A whole lot of us women lie to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're not emotionally honest with ourselves, emotionally honest with the next person. Sometimes they say women, they lie a lot, they fake a lot. The truth is that we have faked for ourselves that we don't even know what it now means to be real. You know, how can we
Mm.
start going back? What do you have to say about that? How can we go back to being emotionally honest with ourselves, first of all, and then taking it out, touch every other thing that we do?
Okay. So emotional honesty is tough. It's tough to really, if someone says something to you, maybe something they've spotted, you may not like it, and not to talk of you examining yourself. So examining yourself can be tough, but it's a necessary thing. And of course doing it often, really helps. It's not something you will do once and just forget about it. No, you want to do it often. Check in on yourself. You check in on every other person. Check in on yourself. I think women, again, because it's women, it's a women podcast. Women, we check in on everything. In fact, there's this my friend Dr. Okay Chinye. She's a psychologist. She said, when it comes to midlife, you will now see some women, they will be like, everybody, children have left home, the business blossomed, the marriage worked, this and that happened. But when they look at the mirror, they don't even know who is gazing back at them, because in the
True.
whole mishmash, they were lost in the process. So it's good to always stay authentic. I really love authentic conversations. That's who I am. No pretense. So the earlier you're able to do that, keep staying authentic, the better. So ask yourself, do I have gaps that need to be filled? It could be knowledge gaps, it could be marital gaps, it could be financial gaps, it could be your spirituality. Are you really close to your God, to your maker? Because if we're not plugged in with God, all these things we are saying will not be happening. So you must be plugged into your source. It's vital. Your health, how does your health look like? You don't need to wait for someone to body shame you and say, is this how you've in fact you've blown out of prop. You don't want someone to do that to you, before you do a check-in to yourself. So gaps in knowledge, all of these places I've talked about. And then you also tell yourself, what habits do I need to install? Because if you can install those new habits that I talked about, you start seeing a new person blossom, a new person come forth. I was also earlier, I talked about, allowing the Holy Spirit, who is our teacher, to guide you, every step of the way, so that you can break out of your comfort zone, because He has all the right steps, He has all the right strategies, that can help you achieve so much more. Thank you. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm done with that.
Go ahead.
Yes, I'm done with that. I just want to be sure you can hear me. Okay, so let me go on. I believe she would come back in. The network is not doing us well, but I'm sure it would improve. So self-forgiveness, so a lot of us also need to break out of whatever happened in the past. Whatever happened in the past, let it stay in the past. We have this Igbo proverb, that says, whenever anyone wakes up, is their morning. So the anytime you decide to wake up is your morning. Don't underestimate what you can achieve in 1 year. So in 2026 and beyond, you can define your vision,
Live.
rewrite your narratives. Yes, I can hear you now. Yes,
Go ahead.
define your vision, rewrite your narratives, and build one brick at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day, but as soon as you've forgiven yourself for wasted time, you can start rebuilding. I had this conversation yesterday with a friend that says to me that she thinks she lost 20 years of her life, as if something shrouded, like something covered her eye, and she wasn't really who she used to be in her younger years, and all that. And I told her the same thing. Start rebuilding one brick at a time. And by the end of 2026, you see a different, thank God your eyes are now open. Sometimes, because man is a spirit, sometimes we could just be existing, really. You just do the normal thing. You eat your breakfast, lunch, dinner, you go to work, chat with people. But then, someone says sometimes people are in a sleep state, not necessarily the physical sleep, but in a sleep
I
state. Yes, yes. So being able to wake up in your spirit changes everything. And when you don't forgive yourself, you're the biggest beneficiary of unforgiveness, because scientifically it's been proven it can cause certain diseases. I don't want to mention the diseases, so both spiritually, both physically. So the earlier you forgive, break out of whatever happened in the past, the faster you start moving forward. Thank you. I hope that answered that.
Absolutely. And you even went ahead of me. So thank you. Now, the one of the things I took is working on everything themselves.
Mm, mm,
Women, please check in on yourself. We can't overemphasize that. We can't draw that even more. You
mm,
make sure that your family is good, you make sure your children are good, you make sure you check up on your friends, and but you don't have that in a come, let's talk. In fact,
mm,
let me tell you how. Put yourself in front of a mirror and it's in a come, let's talk. And then check in with yourself. Good. Is this
mm,
who you think you wanted to become? Is this who do you like this
mm,
person? Um, are you we do not look in to find and you know like gods. Thank you for helping
mm.
us realize that we have to awaken from the slumber, even though our eyes are wide open. Many of us are sleeping. Thank you for telling us that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, one
Mm,
of the things I don't know, but you see, what are the long-term dangers apart from the fact that you mentioned the chronic illnesses that one could actually fall prey to? What are the long-term dangers of constantly performing strength while ignoring emotional fatigue? Many women are burnt out. Many women
yeah.
feel misunderstood. Many women are
Mm,
misaligned. Many women are just doing make they no toxic, you know, how you go be saying I'm me, perfect friend. That's what I call it.
yeah. So, uh, yes. I hope
You
you can
know,
hear me. Can you hear
I
me?
go fine. Meanwhile, inside of
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm not sure you can, but let me attempt the question. So, if we're always, showing that we're strong, we're out there, we're doing this and that, but we don't take care of ourselves, burnout, like you've said, is inevitable. So that means we must strategically plan in times where we rest, strategically planning times where we rest, because life is a marathon, and to achieve, you're going to have endurance. You're going to be, you will need to stay resilient, to achieve certain goals. So, imbibing that strategy of rest, self-care, and self-care can mean anything. It can mean sitting back, during the day, to listening to music, for a period of time to cool your nerves. It could also mean, I think there is this tribe, I think people in Greece, someone said that once it's 3 p.m., they actually all, take a break from work. So once it's 3 p.m., they take a break from work. You see them sipping on their green teas. You see them, eating something refreshing, a snack that is refreshing, and then just logging off everything. So daily habits of, being able to rest, must be infused into our day, because you can't keep pouring from a cup, and when the cup is empty, you're still expected to pour from it. It doesn't work that way. So you need to look for moments where you're refilling yourself, taking care of yourself, and in that way, you'll be bringing your A game, every time to the table. I hope that is clear, and I hope you heard that. So let me see if I can proceed to the next one. Um, the next one, where I talk about, the changes in technology, changes happening all around us, and not to feel left out. What should we do as women? One of those changes, of course, if you've been here, since the last 4 years, it's AI, artificial intelligence. Without losing our value, artificial intelligence is very important. It's not something we can wish away anymore. A lot of investments have gone into it. It's being infused into almost everything we see around us. So AI is a tool for support. It's not a measure of our worth, or what you bring to the table. In fact, we always talk about the woman in the loop, so it's there to enhance and
happy.
augment. Yes, it's there to enhance and augment your efforts. So it's not there to take away from who you are, and all of that. So, to introduce it into your career is so important. If you look at, job headlines all through the last 2 years, you see a lot of, jobs being taken off because of artificial intelligence. So you need to focus on, where are my strengths? What are those things I can do that AI cannot do? I'm sure we know that AI cannot do everything. So it can't take on leadership. It can't make a decision for you. It can't have that good judgment, that because as a human being you understand nuances, you understand the context of things. It can't have that good judgment. It can't show empathy, and it may not be so clear on something, except it understands the whole context. So AI cannot take off some of these important things. It can't take off your innovation. As human beings, we are also so innovative. So the angle I would want anyone to take would be, keep looking for things you could solve. It could even be, things in your home. What are the things that AI could help you do at home? And if you take it up that way, you find out that you could start providing solutions to all the nagging things that we all go through. Okay, all the nagging things that we all go through. So it's important to focus on what are the transferable things that you transfer that AI cannot do, because the human in the loop is really, really so important. And to stay competitive, I would encourage you to look at the skills you have now, and look at what you can infuse, because every career has an angle of, you can use artificial intelligence for these repetitive things. So look at the things in your career that AI can take off, that doesn't really need the infusion of your your humanness. So what are those repetitive things? And by the time you start looking at it that way, AI will not take your job because you've started using it. So you can start planning in 10 to 30 minute sprints to help you understand, things like prompting, things like even generative AI tools, how to use them, how to use AI agents for repetitive work, how to create businesses. People are making money using artificial intelligence. How to create businesses that are powered by artificial intelligence, and of course the human in the loop. By the time you're doing this, showing what you're doing online, showing some of your process on your social handles, on your profiles, on your portfolio, you make yourself a valuable asset, in the midst of what is going on in our world today. All right, so I hope I got that. All right, can you hear me? Seems to be frozen, but I hope you can. Can you hear me? Okay, so the next area I will talk about will be heart aligned productivity. How do you stay productive but in a heart aligned way? The first place I will talk about is set your work life priorities. People always talk about work life balance, but do we really have work life balance? What we could have is priorities. Work could have certain priorities for a given period of time. Life could also have priorities for a given period of time, but make sure that you find a way to the one that needs you to focus on at any given point in time. You try to do that. So what I would say for heart aligned productivity is choose and design your architecture. Build out your architecture, build out your systems, things that can support you for repeatable results. So most times if we don't operate with system thinking, it can affect how we work. And again, I would also talk about choosing effectiveness over exhaustion. So you don't want to be always exhausted. You need to think about delegation. Don't be in the midst of every workflow in your organization. Delegation can save you a lot of bandwidth, a lot of mind bandwidth and a lot of energy. And it helps you all even groom others, that can succeed in certain roles. So delegating things, making sure that your processes, if they are quite complex, you make sure that you create what we call SOPs, standard operating procedures. So these are the steps of doing this: step one, step two, step three, till the person gets to the end. so that they can get repeatable results from whatever thing they are doing. In our business, we provide an agency, like a digital agency, for people that work, do things online. And how does it help them? It helps them offload a lot of the things that they would have been doing gradually, doing a lot of learning curve with, and once you have assistants, online assistants or virtual assistants, that you can delegate to, you find out that you free up a lot of your bandwidth for the strategic things, and then take a look at automating. But of course, before you automate, you must understand your workflow. What's the first process? What's the second process? What's the third process? So once you understand that and you find out the ones that can be taken off by these generative AI tools, and stuff like that, you can then, set some of them up to be automated. So for instance, let me give a practical example. You sell shoes, you sell shoes, beautiful shoes from Turkey, from Dubai, from the UK, and each time someone sees what you're posting, for instance, on Instagram, they type and ask, do you have my size? Do you have this color? Imagine answering 1,000 people in a week. I have your size. I have this color. You'll be burnt out. You'll be burnt out. So that's repetitive work. So imagine taking all your answers and putting on a chatbot, like an AI chatbot. There are so many
Mm-hmm.
out there. There is
Mm-hmm.
HubSpot, there is Drift, there are so many, So putting those frequently asked questions, sit down and do these things, list all those things they always ask, and then automate them. Give the chatbot the answers. In fact, sometimes on a company website, some people keep chatting and think, there is a human being answering them, and maybe it's 1 a.m. Imagine that. And because they keep getting the answers, their emails are captured, their name is captured, the inquiry is captured, they think he's a human. In fact, it takes them some minutes before they know, oh, it's a chatbot that is responding, but it's done its bit. And imagine you waking up at 8 a.m. and your team, picks up from there. You already have your customer. But imagine if that customer went in there, there is no chatbot. Like on Instagram, there is a tool called ManyChat, ManyChat, that you could automate some of those frequently asked things. And it leads the person. In fact, the person can buy the shoe. You're still in Alice in Wonderland. You're still sleeping somewhere. It's 1 a.m. And the business is done. You just dispatch. So those are the things that automation will do. Sometimes even outsource whatever it is. Maybe you're not good, it's not your strength to do a certain thing. Look at outsourcing it, so that you're able to really get the best out of whatever thing you do. So I think those are the answers, for you to be able to have a heart aligned productivity that doesn't burn you out. So those are the answers, that I would have for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I was thrown out again, but now I think I'm back for good because
Okay.
because I've left one platform to another. Yeah.
Okay,
Um.
that's great.
Yeah. Thank you sincerely. I don't know if I'm taking you back or forward, but let's just go. You know, um, Women in tech. A lot of us. It sounds really very technical. It sounds like these people must have some wire in their head touching somewhere. Women in tech. Please tell us in very simple terms, as if we don't know anything. What does it even mean? And how can a woman aspire to become a woman in tech? Because all the time now we're hearing tech is where the money is. If you can get some tech skills, then you can earn abroad. Then you can stay here and be working for some people abroad. You can do this one and that. All those things are saying because women need to earn money. And if the money is coming in foreign currency, the better for us. Yeah. So could you please explain to us so that some people on the
Okay.
street would get it?
I really love this question. I was in an event last year. It was a woman in tech event,
Mm,
where a lot of women were honored, for the work they do in tech, me inclusive. I think we were maybe more than 40 women, at
mhm.
that event. And on a lighter note, the MC told us, do you have a phone in your hand? We said, yes, we have phones in our hands. Bring out your phone. And all the women brought out their phones. And she said, touch your chest. Say, I'm a woman in tech. Do you
Oh
know why? Because
wow!
your phone is a tech tool. It has so many apps. You're a woman in tech.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has so many apps. Some of us use microwaves, to warm our food. It has so many buttons. You're a woman in tech. You have a blender. What's that popular blender? We see it on YouTube. We see it on Instagram a lot.
Oh,
But
we know it. Yeah, we're not giving them free
yeah,
adverts.
I know. So once you know how to work on the buttons, you're a woman in tech. Your jacuzzi at home, not naming any brand, you need to press, you're a woman in tech. So tech is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's all around us. Your TV remote, how to operate that smart TV. You're a woman in tech. So those are little things, that all have tech infused into them. In fact, even our tools like Microsoft Word, Google tools, they all now have AI tech things infused in there. So starting from wherever you are, you're already using tech. So it's not like it's for a certain caliber of people. And tech is for good, is for solving everyday problems. If you look around you, especially in our climes, I'm not saying in other countries there are no issues, but if we look around us, we'll see so many things that need a tech infusion. How students are being taught, needs a tech infusion. If another COVID, God forbid, happens, and children go back home, how would they learn? Do you understand? How would they learn? So being able to look around us, maybe you're even a chef somewhere, but there is this persistent problem. Imagine creating a tech solution, and these days is no longer high tech. Oh, it could just be with a prompt. People are talking about vibe coding. Yes, there are vibe coding platforms. There are so many. In fact, just type vibe coding on YouTube and you could see a vibe coding 101. You don't need to have any programming skills. In fact, people they send their kids to go and learn coding. Sometimes I'm like, yes, it's good, first principles, but in today's world, a prompt can help you start creating that pilot project of the solution you're bringing to the table. So it's not about, having certain, oh, I know this language, C sharp or Python, or oh, I could do data analytics with Tableau. There are tools now that if you put your data, tell it what you want, histograms, draw me histograms from the data, draw me pie charts. It starts doing it automatically or automagically, and
Yeah, yeah,
because it's
yeah.
been,
That's a new
yes,
word,
our tools,
automatically.
yes, our tools have started, learning how to even understand what we need beyond what we need. In fact, the world is talking about artificial general intelligence, where the tools can take over everything, but then we still need the human being in the loop. In fact, there are so many gaps with these things, and we need to start using it to correct the gaps. So some of the gaps could be hallucinations. The tools can also hallucinate where they don't have sufficient information and you're asking it to give you something. So that means we need to be the one in the loop feeding it the right information. So some people are there as people that could label the data that these tools use, so that the tools understand what the information is all about. The tool cannot know, like when we all started using AI, if you ask it for a goosey soup recipe, it will be like, I do not know what a goosey soup is. But if you ask it for how to bake a cake, because it was developed in the West, it could
Mm-hmm.
just come up with doing that. But with us training it, it understands a foriro. It knows what bole is. It knows moi moi, how to make moi moi. Oh, Nigerian jollof rice. If you go in there and say, give me the steps to making Nigerian jollof rice, it will come up with the ingredients, even tell you the market to buy it in Lagos or Abuja or Port Harcourt or wherever you're listening from, because we are teaching it. So we need to participate with this thing. It's not for, I think it's just a misconception to think it's for a few people. No, all of our information is important to make it the right tool that it should be. And imagine knowing how to use these tools, how to navigate your way. Start with one tool, be good with it. Even myself, this year I registered for a tool class, a certain tool, with other young people. I'm sure if they look into the room, they'll be like, what is this madam doing here? But it's important to me. Nobody knows it all. So it's a continuous learning thing. And imagine knowing maybe some of these tools that people abroad use. You can now go to platforms like LinkedIn, Upwork, Fiverr, and give your service. Someone may want a 1 minute AI video, that shows their avatar speaking to their audience. Maybe they are busy professionals, and you know how to use 11 labs to synthesize the person's voice. You just grab a bit of that person's voice, put it on 11 labs, and it can now say so many things in that person's voice. So imagine doing that. I'm just using that as an example, and offering that video as a service. So many people will pay for it. You make a content calendar that goes from January to December. Millions of people are looking for that particular service. And you could Google the top services on these platforms and look at the one that fits who you are and what you have an interest in. And honestly, you can earn from anywhere. We have a remote work support community where people learn some of these things and they start earning. In fact, some of them are some of the Japa people, and even though they've Japad, they are working virtually in those environments and they are earning their pay. So all this information has been democratized. You don't need to be a nerd, you don't need to be a coder, you don't need to be a video editor, even a photographer. Some people are making money with AI photo shoots. People always want to take photos. So once you get good photos of them, you could use AI and wear them marvelous clothes that, some of them may not even find such clothes in their climb, and they look fantastic. People pay for those things. So the opportunities are endless. I'm just trying to use the everyday ones that we can actually relate with. Thank you.
The low hanging fruits that people like us can relate with.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You see, you've just made it simple, um, easy for us to understand, because sometimes these words, they are so techy and then we don't know what it is. I remember I remember when my daughter was doing her masters and she was doing something, and she kept talking about Python. I'm like, Python is a snake, my friend. What are you? I was literally
Oh my
traveling the
goodness.
whole world asking, please, who can decode this Python thing? Python. My daughter has a need for Python one thing. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I wish I had a conversation with you, I would have understood better. Anyways. But the truth is, I love AI. It makes my life really easy. For me, you won't believe it. I'm right now trying to build my own very first website.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes, because there's so many things I want to happen on my website that the people who built it for me are not doing for me. So I'm interrogating AI now. We're building a website together. You know, it may not come out absolutely fantastic, but if I get it done the way I think I want it to be done, then I can give it to the experts and say, this is what I've been saying I want you guys to do. And then they can now take it and run with it. So it's good to probe AI and ask. Sometimes when I give it too many instructions, you say, too fast, too fast. So I will just shut it down and then come back again. But sometimes I feel like, oh, it shouldn't take over my brain because um it comes back mimicking me so well that I become frightened. Uh-uh. How do you know what I'm thinking? How do you know the next thing I would have told you to do? But I think I don't know, maybe from constant interrogation of the thing, it's now beginning to morph into me. That's the one that fears me. And then, there's this thing. I was talking to a group of women and they said, 666, end times. Hmm. You know, that's another thing that is probably making women not to wake up and embrace AI. What is a myth, right? But you can demystify
Yeah.
it for us today.
Yeah, so I think religious connotations, yeah, end time, they said knowledge would increase. But who even gave the knowledge in the first place? So God has given us options. Now, if you look at, for instance, artificial intelligence, the IQ is so high. If we wait forever, we may not reach that place. So the IQ is so high. It's been trained by millions of us, by a lot of experts. In fact, if you put in things you want to do and it gives you an output, you find out that, oh, I had some blind spots. Oh, this is so good. I don't know whether you've noticed it from using it. Oh, this point is so important. I missed this particular point. So it's
Hmm.
something good. Like I said earlier, when you don't understand the use of a tool, you may be
Abuse. Yeah.
thinking, yes, of course there are bad uses of AI where people make deep seeks of people, doing something that is not right and all of that. But let's look on the good side. Imagine using it to solve, like the other day I saw 7.6 million out of school girls in Nigeria.
Hmm.
Just think about it. Let's leave
It's a lot.
666 by the way. What if there is a way we can make sure they get the education they need for tomorrow? So that their own life will not be a repetition of their parents' life. Have you seen how I'm thinking about it? So that would now spur you to understand the use of this tool. Use it to solve a problem. Maybe you saw someone, I'm sure a lot of us have seen people die from breast cancer. I hate cancer. If we survey people on this podcast, someone will tell you, I know a neighbor, there is this family member.
Definitely.
Imagine we use it to solve that problem. During the program I talked about where women in tech were celebrated, there is a woman that has this brassiere that when you wear it, early detection. The brassiere has a lot of a lot of what's it called now, a lot of wires, if I could use that name, on it, that shows on a dashboard,
Hmm.
that would alert you
That
on
something
your
is wrong with your
profile
brain.
there is something wrong with your breast.
Wow.
Please go to the hospital. You're at stage one, and stuff like that. Than waiting unknowingly, and then it's stage four. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the use cases, we even need to discover more. The use cases are everywhere. And someone says these tools are going to make billionaires out of people that never thought about making money. Because what if you solved a problem that was, the scale and all of that? You automatically, you become a billionaire. So that's how I want us to think about it. Think about using it for good, not using it in other ways. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that redirect because honestly, that figure that you just threw out, 7.6 million, is that for Nigeria alone?
Yes, Nigeria alone. We
Out of
are 200 and something million
yeah, and we have
from, yes,
7.6 million out of school.
school. Yeah. Please
That's
go
a
back and
huge
check.
gap.
It's
I'm
a
going
huge
to.
gap.
That's a
And then
huge gap.
yes, and then some of them will just be married early. They start repeating the cycle. They are struggling, and that's not good. It doesn't tell well of us.
Yeah, I know. Thank you, Doc. Yeah, we've spoken for more than an hour, and we must be trying to wrap up right now. I'm going to ask you two more questions, and then we close up. Yeah.
Okay.
Um. Um. If you could leave our listeners right now with one truth about healing, alignment, and sustainable success, what would it be?
Okay. So, like I said when I started, start staying true to that version of you that is your ultimate goal. So, we have many versions of us in our lifetime. So,
Mm-hmm.
start staying true to that version of you. So, I would suggest, do your introspection, check in on yourself constantly, spend time thinking, because we are always in motion in our society, fast paced, going nowhere. We need to take some personal retreat times,
Mm-hmm.
personal retreat, not a group retreat. Think through, listen through, define who that person needs to be, and then start walking in her shoes. Start walking in her shoes. We are capable of so much more. A lot of us by this time we've drawn up our vision board, but we need to draw up the habits that can help us. Think about mini things, micro things that you can start doing. So, for instance, oh, I want to speak on TEDx stages, across Nigeria. What's the micro step? What's the first
Mm-hmm.
step?
Mm-hmm.
What's the second step? What's the third
Mm-hmm.
step? So by
Mm-hmm.
the time you're being that intentional, you see that, oh, that big vision can now be broken into small pieces, and I can keep picking the pieces. And then at the end of every month, you do your check, you check in. I have some resources, for goal reset journaling, the wheel of life, even some prompts. You could use some prompts, yeah, to talk to your AI tool that already knows you, to reset yourself every other month, as much as you need, even if it's every 2 weeks, so that you keep going back to what that future self looked like and what those future goals look like. And then if you can break your goals into 90-day sprints, it's easier to handle, so that you now break it further into the 30-day sprints. What should I be doing weekly? What should I be doing daily? And if you can follow through with this, like I said, at the end of 1 year, you'll just be in a different place, and you will be able to accomplish so much more. There's also a platform called Future Me. So I always tell people, write yourself, like, we are in February at the time of this recording, February, March, April. You could write yourself by April 30th, oh, these are the things you should have accomplished, just to keep yourself accountable. If you also have accountability partners, great. But I always talk about self accountability, and then tell important people, have a group, on WhatsApp, make yourselves accountable every second Saturday or 2 times in a month. Even if it's for 15 minutes, you put yourselves on a hot seat. You don't need to wait for a special occasion. What are those goals? Where am I now? What do I need support on? Who do I need to connect to? I'm part of so many international women's group, and we have one called the UN E-Trade for Women. And one of the things we did early this year that I really loved was, women asking for help, and they put it on a Google Doc. where no, on a Google sheet, the Excel version, of Google. And they said, put your name, your business, where do you need help in 2026? And you know what? They also ask women that could offer this help free to you,
Yeah.
or maybe open
Yeah.
their network, or do
Yeah.
something, or help you with a grant, or do something. And that Excel sheet is filled so far. People are even keep adding to it. So if you speak up, you will be helped. So that those are the last words I would have, on today's podcast. Thank you.
Thank you very, very, very much. But that was my last but one question, so I'm still going to have you speak.
Okay. All right,
And
no problem.
my very final question to you today is, what do you believe will change if more women gave themselves permission to heal before they begin to hustle?
Yes, if we give ourselves that time to heal before we start, I don't like using the word hustle, but it just means working.
Yeah.
You will now serve from a good place. You now
Mm.
serve from a wholesome place. You're not in
Mm-hmm.
competition with anyone. You're not, there is nobody you're doing tag along with. You're just being your authentic self. And once you're able to do that, you see you will go really far. So when you now set out to hustle or to walk, to really, really walk, to put your feet down, you see that you go that marathon, and you'll be all the better for it. So make that time for that self reflection, for moments in your calendar, put it in your alarms on your phone, put it somewhere. Let an alarm go off every week that makes me sit back and rethink, retrospect. What am I doing? Where do I need help? Sometimes we get stuck in our minds because we just hit a roadblock, and that's it. People are there to help you. People are good, though. Sometimes we think people are not good because of the media. The media always hypes the people that are not good, but people are good. And if you ask for help, be in the right support communities, and all of that, you will go far. Thank you so much. I hope that answered that.
Absolutely. When you see me go very quiet and nodding my head, I'm really absorbing. Absolutely. I soaked that in through every pore of mine, and I'm going to still marinate some bit on it because it's speaking a lot to me. I just kept hearing in my head, gives your life meaning. If you do this, your life will have meaning. Your life will have meaning. And if your life has meaning, then you will have joy doing whatever it is you're doing because you know that you're meaningfully and productively contributing to the world and, of course, to everything else. Thank you so much, Doc. I expected a very excellent episode and you delivered nothing short of that. Um, I'm going to call up on you again and again and again because I just have this feeling inside of me that we have just not even touched the depth of what you have to give. We just scratched the surface today. So I'm going to have to call you again. There are about 300 women that are in our communities and the UpYou women communities. And we need to hear this more and more and more. So maybe we'll do a more focused thing where you come into our WhatsApp group and teach us, talk to us, and everything.
Okay.
Our goal is to have women understand their why, understand themselves, find their purpose, get meaning in what they do, and enjoy their life, you
Mm,
know, so that life is not pulling us in all directions. We decide the way we want to go and we go there, joyfully in one accord with ourselves. Not that our bodies are moving and our souls are behind. So I sense in my spirit that there is more going to come out of you and I will be knocking again. Please do not say no when I come. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You are
yeah.
brilliant. I must tell you that. Thank you
Okay.
very, very much.
Thank you, Ezinne. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful to be on the call, and I hope the action on some of the really deep things that we shared.
It will happen. It will come. As in every other thing, like you said, is work in progress. We'll create the awareness, we'll put it out there, we get the women thinking, we get them questioning, we get them probing. Once they begin to probe and question and seek, then the answers will start coming. And one thing I aim to do with this podcast and every other thing I do in the media is to give women resources so that once it hits you, you go check out on our YouTube who was that woman who was talking this thing with Ezinne, and then you can send the message, and then you can get help from an expert immediately. So that's what we're trying to do here. So thank you so much for reminding us that growth doesn't begin on the outside, that everything that we see women achieving, that we marvel at, is first rooted on their inside. And so we too must go and do the inner work and do it consistently, you know, not just a one off, consistently as we become, as we evolve. Because life is what? Transient. It keeps translating. Life keeps translating. We keep becoming. There are seasons of life, and per season, we are someone else, we are something different. So long as we're doing the right things, we keep growing. Growth is not static. So thank you for telling us that. And to everyone who's been on this stream, thank you for staying until the end. And for those who are going to come and after, thank you for coming to watch. Let this be your permission slip. Let this episode be your permission slip. You don't need to rush. You don't have to perform strength. You don't have to reset your goals without resetting your inner life. See, you are your own best everything. You're your own best cheerleader, your own best accountability partner, your own everything. You need to learn to love yourself, trust yourself, and take yourself out on conversations. Check in with yourself, check in with your strengths. Do a SWOT analysis and say to yourself, Ezinne, where are we headed? Where are we going? What can we achieve together? What will you support me to do? Have those conversations as if you're advising someone else, but you're talking to yourself. So take this permission that Ojiugo has given to us today to go sit down with yourself and then do all of this work on the inside. You'll be amazed what you will discover. My book is still on sale, the 30 Days Alignment Challenge. You know where to find it is on Seller. I'll put the link somewhere at the end of this conversation. We're doing it as a group of women. It's amazing what is coming out, you know, because we are uncensored in that everybody is speaking their truth and we're getting aha, aha. After last week, people saw what they should be resetting, what they should be realigning. This is work you do for yourself to make yourself better. This is not the one you do for another person. Yes, you might have raised a wonderful family, but are you a wonderful self? You owe yourself this duty. So this February, we're aligning our hearts. If this conversation has spoken to you, please share it, replay it, and sit with it. In fact, like the way I say, marinate with it, so that it seeps in, so that it overtakes you and forces you to take action. And don't forget to subscribe, follow, and stay connected for more conversations that will help you rise from the inside out. Again, is a massive thank you to Ojiugo. From Ojiugo and myself is up you and keep living, keep aligning until we come your way next time. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.